So yeah, my name's Scott Davidson. I do live in our region here out in Wellesley. Two of my young lads are here with you. Probably know them a little bit better than myself. I've been here a few times on Sunday. Um, so I do know, I am familiar with Frontline and Matt and Mike and Cliff and a bunch of you guys. And it's nice because I know that if you've ever been here on a Sunday or you're a part of this family, uh, I know there's Bible teaching. I know there's solid Bible teaching, and there's truth that's spoken. And so it's nice when you kind of know that you're coming to a place where that's kind of the foundation, right? So that being said, just thinking about kind of what we were going to do this morning, and what does the Lord want me to share. I always think about that and I think, you know what, I always have something I want to talk about, but I don't want that to be the motivation, like just something that's easy or something that's, fun for me or what have you. But like genuinely, what is it that the Lord wants to share? So what just kept coming back to me, and I always try to get some feedback from my wife as well, because it's quite valuable. Often she'll give me perspectives that I'm not quite thinking about. And so what I ended up landing on was just to tell a story, and that being my own story. So I wanted to start with just a quote that I heard this guy I was listening to a podcast, and the boys will laugh because I listen to probably like 1,000 hours of podcast a week, and just constantly want to learn and listen to things. So I don't know if you're familiar with the guy, the name of Ryan Mickler, but I was listening to him, and he made this statement, and I couldn't get it out of my head. He said, "We live in a world where being a man is no longer a requirement for a male. It's optional. You have to choose to be a man." And I heard that, and I like bumped it back and listened to it again, and I kept listening to it, and I'm like, that's so true. And I don't want you to hear that as a political statement, or a should it or should it not be statement. It's the truth of the world we live in. We actually live in an environment that you are actually having to make that choice. You have to choose, are you or are you not going to be a man? Now, obviously, we have to define that as well, right? What does that look like to be a man? We can go with a modern, what does our community tell us that being a man looks like, or what did my dad look like, or my uncle, or did I even have a man in my life growing up? There's all kind of things that can define that for us. I say we look at Scripture, right? I'd say we look at the man, the God man. We look at Jesus, and we see what it's like to be a man. So that's kind of my foundation, or my intro as to kind of where my mind's been lately for a while, and just thinking about that. For young men in my family, what does that look like? What is them being a man and living as a man look like? How's that gonna impact their family, their relationships? So jumping back in time, I was born in Virginia, in the States. All of my family's still down there, minus the family that I've made. They're all up here with me. So, I met my wife at a Bible school in Michigan. We got married, lived down there for a bit. We ended up in Virginia, lived there for maybe a year or so, and then decided we were going to move up to Canada, where she was from, and kind of try life here and see how things went. So we were at the time very excited and looking into the opportunity to be in full-time ministry. That's where we thought kind of God was taking us. So we had a heart for that. We had a heart for missions. We didn't know what that was going to look like, where we would be. I mean, we were young as well, but we really wanted to do that. We wanted to serve the Lord in this way. So we came to Canada with that in mind, and we went to a small little congregation of people that were meeting together, and Katrina's parents were there. Kind of got plugged in, just kind of learning the ropes, like this was kind of really the first time as a married couple we had really got plugged into a church and seeing what that looked like. That church ended up combining with another congregation of people that were having some pretty serious issues with leadership and some stuff where a lot of people had left. They were trying to just kind of figure out where do we go from here. We ended up starting a new church. So Katrina and I had this thought that we were going to continue on with training. We were going to continue into, again, full-time missions. But it seemed like God had kind of thrown us in this spot where this church was starting. We're like, wow, okay, like, see where this goes. Fast forward a few years, we ended up extremely involved in that church. Katrina was leading a lot of like women's ministry and teaching and helping with the kids. Like we started a youth program for them. We're like doing the curriculum for it. I'm building this up and kind of telling you what we were doing, not by any means bragging about it. I'm kind of setting the stage for where this is all going, and it'll make sense in a few minutes. So at the same time, when we had first moved to Canada, Katrina was pregnant. So we had our first child, followed by a year and a half, not even a year and a half later, by our second child. And then 2 years later, our third child. So we were a young married couple, 3 kids, doing pretty close to full-time ministry. I was working full-time outside of the home. Things were busy, like very, very busy. And things were going well. The church was doing well. Like it was a relatively young congregation. Like I don't know, all of a sudden we were just surrounded by young couples, babies like everywhere. Like it was ridiculous. Like we had to actually build a new section in the basement of the church to like store all these babies. Like there were babies everywhere, right? Like it's like we got to do something with this. We got a baby problem, right? So we had to like all kinds of stuff going on, construction and things like, and it was amazing because we're looking at this and thinking like, wow, like God is genuinely growing our church, like both from within and like also new people coming, and it was amazing. Little did I know there was something going on with me that I had no clue. I was getting exhausted, like quite exhausted. So this was going on for a few years. I was speaking and teaching on Sunday mornings. I was helping get like guys events together. Again, we were still helping kind of coordinate who was going and working with the youth department. Yeah, there was a lot going on. I was trying to take care of myself, like so I'm like, working out, and then I'd end up being up late because I mean there's only so much time in a day, right? So like you're at work all day, come home, help get dinner, help look after the kids, get them to bed. Then I got like a leadership meeting or something going on at the church. Then I still wanted to get a workout in, and then I'm all of a sudden it's like midnight, 1 a.m. I'm getting up at 4:45. And because it's the only time it's actually quiet, and I'll get some books, do some studying, thinking about next Sunday, then I'll head from there to work. Like this was going on, and it was happened for a few years. And I was slowly like just burning out, and I didn't even know it. So I bring this up because you might think like, wow, this isn't a very encouraging story. But it's true. It's how life quickly can happen to you, right? And Katrina and I love the Lord, wanted to serve others, but I found myself all of a sudden starting to feel like confusing things. I started to feel resentment towards people. Like I saw every person that was like coming to me as like, great, another issue, another problem to solve, another thing to do, right? I started to see my family like that. Still desperately loved them, but I couldn't take it. Like I couldn't handle another thing. And the level of stress, and at the time, I'm thinking I was like 28, like I was young. And I look back now and think like, holy cow, like what in the world? Why did And this isn't me blaming anybody, but I'm like, why didn't somebody tell me? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're doing way too much. Like, slow down, take it easy. But everything I was doing and wanted to take on were good things, right? It wasn't like I was out gambling and like joining the mafia or anything. Like I was doing good, genuine things. I'm serving other people. I'm helping. I wanted to help, but my tank was empty. Like I was out. Maybe another time. I know I've shared with Matt and a few other people some more details just of some of the stuff that ended up taking place and just some terrible decisions that I made in that place that almost cost me my family. It almost cost me my marriage. It did. I did end up. I mean, I say it. Could say I stepped down like I did, but like I mean, I would have been told like you're stepping down like from leadership. I got to a point where like there was no business for me to be in a place of leadership because like I mean I was done. Like I was way past done. Like I was struggling with even possible like thoughts of being suicidal, right? Like I could not see any way like to fix what had happened, like where I had gotten, the place in life that I was at, and I'm like I was quite confused. Like how did this happen? I remember just wrestling with God, even thinking like how could you let this happen? Like I've done nothing but like I've wanted to serve you. I've wanted to do these things. I've wanted to, you know, I've loved you. I've taught like all these amazing things that I've done, right? Like that's where I was at. Was all I could see is everything I had done, and I was like, man, like God, you've dropped the ball on this. Like you've let me down, and that's where I was at. I think God had some family and people there that never lost hope, that prayed desperately for me, that pursued me like when I didn't want to be pursued and wanted nothing to do with them. One of them being my father-in-law, and awesome guy. He's come here before on a Sunday and visited, but he was there. He was there with me. Like he very possibly should have been the first one to say you're on your own. Like I don't agree with what's going on. You got to figure this out. Like I'm married to his daughter, right? I have his grandkids, but he didn't. He stood there with me, prayed with me. Like he's a big part of what helped me to get through that time and not give up. So yeah, I have a lot to be thankful for that. Why why do you think something like that happens? And obviously, I'm asking a rhetorical question. I don't expect anybody to really answer it. But just think about it. Think for yourself, or maybe it is something you've thought about. Maybe it's something one of you guys have struggled with, right? And maybe you're thinking through it right now. Why would God allow a person to get to that place? For me, I think I've kind of landed at, I think, has less to do about God, has a whole lot to do about us. Because what I know about Scripture, what I know about God, what I know about Christianity and the church is that it's about community. It's about family. It's about brotherhood. It's about holding each other accountable. It's about standing beside each other. The verse that sticks out in my mind, Proverbs 27:17, very short and concise, but it says a lot. Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And I've looked back so many times over kind of my story, and what happened. One thing I lacked was a brother to stand beside me. And before I was in the trenches of despair and depression and like destroying my life, point out some of those things, right? And say, hey, like share the load. Hey, like take some time for yourself. Hey, look after your wife. Like she's drowning over here with everything she's doing, right? Look after your marriage. I was missing that. And as a young, ambitious leader, I didn't care because I could do it all, right? I was strong. I could push through. Like I didn't want to be weak. I don't need help. I don't need that. I can just do it. I can keep doing it. These are all good things. God will carry me through, right? And that's not how life works. We desperately need each other. We need people around us. We need someone that can speak into our life. We need somebody who knows the deep, dirty, dark corners of your life that you struggle with, right? Somebody that just with no judgment, you can lay it out and say, hey man, like here's what's going on. Here's what I'm struggling with, right? Like I can't shake whatever this is. Like, I'm struggling with, I'm just drinking too much. Like it's all I want to do. It's all I'm thinking about. I can't stop looking at pornography, right? Like whatever. Like I'm desperate for money. I'm stealing money at work. Like whatever it is. Like somehow, I think we allow Satan to convince us that we're the only one, right? That you're the exception. You're the only one that's struggling with this. Nobody else would understand, right? Like if you let somebody in, you let somebody know what you're struggling with, like they're going to judge you, or you're going to lose, value in their eyes. You're going to lose opportunities, whatever it is. Like we believe some nonsense, honestly. I can tell you right now, the most freeing thing that you can possibly do is to have somebody that you can just share your dirty laundry with. Like honestly, just put it out there and talk and let them know. Anything you're hiding, anything that's in the dark, is just going to fester, right? It does not go away. You can't paint over it, right? You've got to do some work. You got to dig down. You got to talk to people. You got to pray through it. You got to ask the Lord, hey, reveal these things to me. Show me where I need to change. Show me where the dirt is, right? Something I hear often when it comes to guys and kind of going back to that whole, you have to choose to be a man. Part of our culture, we're big on talking about like vulnerability, and there's good aspects depending on how you define vulnerability of that. But personally, I'm not a big fan of talking about being vulnerable, and that might be because of how I picture the word. I like to talk about showing humility and honesty, right? As opposed to, I think it's vulnerable. I think of like, the chubby possum that's trying to cross the 401. Like that's vulnerable, right? Like that's going to be tough. You know what I'm saying? Like that's vulnerability. As a man, I don't want to be the chubby possum, right? Like I don't want to be vulnerable like that. And I dare to say that your spouse or significant other, or girlfriend or family, I don't think they want you to be vulnerable in that aspect either. I think they want you to be somebody they can count on, right? Somebody they can find confidence and protection and safety and value, right? So what I'm not saying is being macho and pretending you have it all together when you don't. I'm saying honesty and humility. So honesty is saying, you know what, I'm not sure what we're going to do in this situation. I'm not sure how we're going to get out of the debt that we're in right now, but I'm confident that the Lord is going to get us through it, and I'm going to figure out what I need to do, and I'm going to ask for some help. Right? That's that honesty, because you're not pretending there's not a problem, right? You're admitting there is an issue, but then you're showing humility, like, hey, I don't have it all together. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here, but we're going to figure it out, right? That's being able to show that strength, right? And that protective side, but you're being honest with yourself. You're saying, hey, I need some help, right? So for what it's worth, that's kind of where I see that whole thing of being vulnerable, right? Like it's fine, showing emotion, that's okay. Should you break down and, be a puddle every time, your wife talks to you or something? I'm thinking probably not. That's probably not the best way to project confidence and security, right? But again, that's why I honestly believe like we need that brotherhood of people. We need, even if it's just one, like if you can find one other man that you can disclose those things to and you can talk to and you can get encouragement, you're golden, right? It's tough. If you can find two, like you're a unicorn. Like that's amazing. That doesn't happen, right? Like it's tough. It is. But I'd encourage you to do that. Just thinking about the whole, again, back to my, my story and kind of where things fell apart. Like I often will look back and say like, I don't want that to happen again, right? And I'll be honest, like this has been, I mean, my goodness, it's been, I think we're at like 15, 16 years ago or something like that. But I'd love to be up here and say, and now this is where I'm at, and I'm, a faithful attender at so-and-so church, and I'm in this ministry, I'm doing that, and like, that's not my story. I've spent years, honestly, with like almost like a form of like church PTSD, if that's a thing, like, because like there was some deep hurt there. There was some, I certainly dug my own grave, but I mean, there were some relationships in that didn't end well. So there were some things that even now to get involved and do, and, kind of be involved in a ministry or to, again, put myself out there and take a risk, like there's some fear in that. There honestly is. Because I don't ever want to be back in that place. So, I mean, Matt mentioned, me being, I think buddy was the word that you mentioned. We'll talk later. But no, Matt is an amazing friend, and he's been that guy for me that I can talk with and chat and just put stuff out there, and I don't have to worry. Well, what's he thinking? Like, is he going to go home and tell Cindy and they're going to talk about me? They're not going to hang out with us anymore. Like I don't worry like that with Matt. Yeah, it's awesome. That's somewhere that I can, share. I know he prays for me. We have that connection, but I look back and think, like, where did things fall apart? Where did life go from, excited to serve, ready to serve, wanting to serve, opportunities to serve? And as I kind of go through that, talking about it, I'm like, oh, that was the problem. Like I didn't know or have any desire or contemplate that I could say no or not take on something else. Like I was just full board going, right? I can be a husband and a father and a pastor and a worker and a mentor and everything else, right? Like, sure, I could do it. And I did it for a while. But what I was neglecting was myself. Like, you think about if you have a vehicle, and what happens when, lights start coming on the dashboard? Well, if it's my car, you just keep driving it because that happens all the time, right? But you just ignore it. But yeah, turn the music out. But now my Bluetooth stopped working, so I can't even do that. So anyways, if anybody knows somebody has a deal on a used car. No, honestly, like you're driving a car and the lights come on. What do you do? You pay attention to it, right? You figure out what is that. Like, you don't just ditch the car and like, I need a new car. Like, no, you look after it, right? You get your oil changed. You make sure your tires are inflated properly, right? You do the maintenance to the vehicle to make it work for you. You don't just drive it until it's out of gas and then go get a new one, right? So it's no different with us. Like, you can't treat yourself like that. You have to look after yourself. You're like, I mean, we live in a day and age now, you hear about mental health all the time, but I almost wonder if it gets ignored sometime, like when it comes to spiritual things, when it comes to the church, right? Like, do we actually understand that God has created us as a complex human? Like, it's not just about, I got up early, I read my Bible, I said my prayer, I went to work, I came home, I did my ministry, and like, we're not robots, right? Like, we have to look after ourselves. The mental health aspect is huge. and that's basically what I was ignoring. I didn't pull somebody beside me and say, hey, I need feedback. I need you to speak into my life. Or, hey, you know what? I need a break. Or, I need to look after my family. I ignored that part. I heard somebody talk. You always hear about like mind, body, spirit, like to kind of show the complexities of a person. The one way I heard it explained was head, heart, and hands. So, which made a lot of sense because like we'll often look after, like the head part. We want to learn, we want to think through things and have problems. Like it's kind of a guy thing. We're gonna solve this. We can figure out a solution. So you have the head part. You have the hands. Like we're just gonna do it. We're gonna get it done. I'll fix it. Like if your wife shares something that she's struggling with, I'm gonna think about it, and then I'm gonna fix it, right? But we often will miss the heart part, right? So maybe what your wife wants is just you to show some empathy, right? Maybe she just wants you to listen about it, which for guys, it's like, what good is that going to do, right? I'm just listening. I need to fix something. But it works. It does from experience. Yeah, listening is a good thing. So yeah, just lending an ear, being empathetic, showing sympathy, showing compassion. That completes the person, right? Everybody's got their strong suit. Maybe you're, a problem solver, a thinker. Maybe you're just, I know people like this. It's not, I don't even need to think about that much. I just need to do it, right? They're the bull in the china shop. Just, hammer it, like just like make it work. But we need all three of those aspects, right? God's gifted us in different ways. He's given us opportunities to serve in different ways. But we need to be well-rounded in that atmosphere. Interestingly, I think about what happened there with me in the church, and I don't think it was for nothing. Like I can go back and look and say, like, I can blame myself. I can say this was my own fault. I can come up with all kinds of stuff. The reality is, I kind of see it as it's an opportunity, right? I see it as an opportunity maybe for me maybe I can help somebody that is going down that same path, and I can hopefully encourage them to kind of take a look at their life, unlike I did, and maybe save themselves and other people around them a whole lot of pain and suffering and agony, right? I don't think any experience like that is a loss. I think we can learn from it. We can grow from it. But yeah, I'll put it out there for you guys right now. Like I said, I would love to say like, oh yeah, now I'm super Christian and I've elevated to the next realm and I'm Lord of the Ring people, the white Gandalf. Anybody? No? Yeah. Okay. I'm showing my nerdom. Apologize. Yeah. What? Fat possum. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So no, I would love to say that's where it is, but it's not. It's not reality. I'm still in process. I'm still figuring stuff out. I'd love to, keep working with Matt, like I said, and chatting and talking and growing. I know God hasn't given up on me. I'm looking forward to opportunities, even something like this, right? Something just sharing with some guys at a breakfast, and hopefully it kind of rings true to somebody and gives somebody something to think about. I did have one scripture that I wanted to read. This is just something that's been meaningful to me in Philippians 2. I think it kind of summarizes a little bit about like what we've been talking about this morning, but drawing our attention to where it should be as well. So Philippians 2 says, so if there's any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. And this is the part I want to emphasize, is doing nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility, count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interest of others. I wanted to highlight that part because I read that part years ago, and I only looked after the interests of others, which is great. But if you look close, it says, look not only to his own interest. You still look out for yourself, right? You still take care of yourself. Because again, just like the car, if you don't, you're not going to be useful, right? If you want to be a useful servant of the Lord, you have to look after yourself. Philippians 2, it continues in verse 5, says, have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant. So Jesus humbled himself, didn't grasp onto his deity as something to either like lord over people or avoid suffering or avoid serving others because he was better than all of us, but he humbled himself. But you also look at the life of Jesus, and he also pulled himself away from crowds, right? He also surrounded himself by a band of brothers, right, that he would be close to. And then even within that, within his disciples, another 3 that he was even closer and had a real deep relationship with those guys. And then you'd see times where he'd pull himself away from everyone and he'd go and pray with his Father in the garden, right? And Jesus himself, yes, he humbled himself and served everyone else, but he also looked after himself. He also knew what was important, and that was his relationship with his Father. And that's the foundation of where he served from. So I thought that was interesting just to kind of encapsulate what we were talking about this morning. So yeah, so that's it for my story. Maybe sometime we'll get a chance even to chat like more one-on-one and stuff, or if you ever have questions about anything, feel free. I'm honestly, like, I'm an open book. I'll chat with you and talk. I'm past the days of worrying what other people think about me. Life is too short for that, right? So if we want to be used by the Lord, then put yourself out there. But don't be vulnerable. Be honest and humble. All right.